I work for a company called Content Plan. We're, I suppose, what you describe a boutique digital agency stroke consultancy. You can kind of see there we work for kind of a broad section of different clients, so big companies, small companies, medium-sized companies, public sector, private sector, etc., etc. And I suppose there's two kind of, if you like, overview areas that we work in. What I would describe as the planning and preparation piece in terms of digital. So obviously, training would kind of fall under that, but also we do a lot of work in the execution and the management piece in terms of digital. And I suppose we kind of like to have our fingers in both pies, so to speak. So the the theory of this stuff is great for sure, but it's really in the practical application. I would suggest that's where the kind of real learning takes place. And certainly when it comes to online advertising, that is definitely the case. These are 3 documents that I give out on all of the sessions, folks. They're not directly related, or they're indirectly, I suppose you would say, related to, but broadly speaking, these 3 documents or 3 templates, I suppose, make up what we would describe as your digital marketing strategy. So our first one is a marketing plan, relatively simple, short template, not exclusively digital by any means. The second one then is around buyer personas or your customer segmentation. And the third document then is an editorial calendar for your digital content. And broadly speaking, if you have these 3 documents, either virtually or physically in-house, you have a digital marketing strategy, a digital marketing plan. I suppose the analogy is like with the house, these are the foundational digital pieces. So again, certainly when we talk to clients who are not getting what they want to from their, I suppose, digital marketing efforts, 9 times out of 10, it's because they don't have the foundations in place. So again, I'd recommend that you take a look at those and you ensure that you have those in place. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult, I suppose, to get a return on investment from your digital marketing efforts. There'll be a poll at the end of the session, folks. So again, I'd encourage you to take that. Obviously, it provides us with feedback and allows us to kind of improve what we are doing. So again, that's something I launched just before you guys go. So again, I'd encourage you to take that. Again, not to labor the point, but I suppose the coronavirus and everything that goes along with it has, I suppose, accelerated this process or brought this to the fore, unfortunately. And, it's something I introduce most of my sessions with. So certainly when it comes to business planning, to my mind, there's really no such thing as a digital strategy anymore, although obviously these words can be useful. There's really now only strategy in a digital world. And what I mean by that is that, digital is having such a massive impact in terms of all our lives that really, regardless of what type of business you are, regardless of what type of product you sell, regardless who you sell that product to, and I suppose regardless of whether you sell that product or service in a traditional setting or indeed in an online setting, digital online is having a big impact in terms of your business. So again, just some of the stats, you can see them here in terms of total population of the world, 8 billion. Mobile phone users just over 5 billion, internet users 4.5 billion, active social media users just under 4 billion. In terms of Ireland then, so just to look in terms of devices. So again, a couple of, I suppose, points to note here. So when we talk about the internet nowadays, really we're talking in terms of mobile devices. So, everything that we do online, designing content, designing websites, everything that we do is for the mobile experience, for the mobile device. And that's kind of growing, day on day, month on month, year on year. In terms of search, in terms of Ireland, and you can see here, because we're going to look at Google Ads. So Google has an absolute monopoly on search, not just in terms of Ireland, but internationally. So it's running over 95%. So when we talk in terms of search engine marketing, really we're talking in terms of Google. Ireland then most used platforms in terms of digital. So you can see that YouTube is number 1. And I would suggest to people that YouTube is oftentimes a low-hanging fruit for SME businesses. So again, I'd estimate that probably 70 to 80% of Irish SME businesses don't have a YouTube channel, don't produce content on there. And YouTube is the most used social media, but it's also the second largest search engine in the world after Google, owned by Google. Obviously, you can see there Facebook is number 2. WhatsApp, again, tends to be a low-hanging fruit for businesses, not widely used. But again, your customers are already on WhatsApp. They're using WhatsApp. So there's an opportunity there in terms of customer communications, customer service. Not going to labor the point in terms of this, but I suppose the first one there, and this is a 2020 figure, and it's probably gone up since. So the average internet user now spends 6 hours and 43 minutes online each day. So when you consider that you kind of sleep for maybe, 7-8 hours on a good night, that's the average figure. It's quite staggering. And again, it's increasing kind of day on day, month on month, year on year. Not suggesting it's necessarily a good thing, but it is a reality. Again, I suppose when it comes to digital marketing, and I suppose the fundamental difference between digital marketing and probably traditional or the traditional channels, this is kind of where it's it. And I suppose this is the impact that I suppose the internet and digital has had on, if you like, the marketing as a discipline. So, traditional channels, it's very much a one-way street, as it were. It's a kind of a mass message to the widest possible audience. When it comes to digital marketing, it's very much a two-way street. So whether it's Facebook or Instagram or anything else for that matter, people can come on there, they can leave comments, they can share, they can do all of those things. So marketing has very much become a two-way street. It's become a dialogue, a collaboration with our customers. This is the agenda for today's session, folks. So as I say, we're going to look at Google Ads first, and then we're also going to look at Facebook ads, Instagram. So when we talk about Facebook and Instagram advertising, we're to the large extent, we're talking about the same thing. So in other words, even if you're going to create exclusively in Instagram advertising, you should manage those ads from the Facebook ads platform. And again, just before we finish up, certainly if you're B2B, we're going to take a look in terms of LinkedIn ads, which again can be used quite effectively in terms of B2B businesses. So that's the kind of agenda for today's session. Something that we've set up just recently, and I'm going to share this in terms of the chat facility. Set up a Facebook group in conjunction with these sessions. So if you like, that's a kind of a place where potentially you can go and ask questions or indeed access supplementary or complementary content in between sessions. So if you're on Facebook and you use Facebook and you'd like to join that group, please do, and I'll make myself available to answer any questions or provide you with support and feedback in between the sessions. So again, just by way of a start. So again, this is probably in terms of, an introduction to online marketing or digital marketing generally. This is what's called the online marketing funnel. And it's really all about building relationships. And what I always say to people in terms of digital, you can get too focused in on the technology, as it were. So oftentimes we kind of forget what works in a traditional setting, but in actual fact, it's very much the same thing. So what this means here is that when, awareness in terms of the stage here is for someone who has the potential to become your customer, but hasn't heard about your business yet. So in terms of, if you like, the task or the tactic in terms of that type of people, obviously you have to make them aware in terms of your business. You have to introduce them to your brand. You have to introduce them to your products, services, etc. Consideration then is about getting those people to consider becoming your customer. Conversion is about, getting them to take the step, making that first purchase, becoming your customer. Loyalty obviously is about getting an existing customer to become a repeat customer, and advocacy then is about getting someone to become an advocate for your business. So in an online context, for instance, that would relate to something like reviews, for instance. And certainly in terms of marketing, how has things changed? So we don't really believe what businesses or brands say about themselves anymore. We believe what their customers say. So in other words, if you're booking a hotel or a restaurant or anything like that, nowadays what you'll tend to do is you'll tend to go and look at the reviews of that particular hotel or that particular restaurant, and you listen to what the customers say before making your decision to be a customer of that business or not. In terms of digital content then, so again, if you look at the top three levels in terms of that funnel there, what you can see is that different types of content generally tend to lend themselves to different stages within the funnel. So if you look at the top of the funnel, for instance, something like a blog post is a good type of content for making people aware of your business, making people aware of your products, your services, etc., etc. Obviously, then at the bottom level, you know, something like, as I say, reviews or customer stories or testimonials or even case studies or something like that will be more effective at getting people who are already aware of your business to convert into becoming your customer. But I suppose the overall point when you plan your digital marketing, when you plan your digital marketing strategy, just to be mindful that you're going to have to create different types of content, if you like, that will build upon the relationships depending on where the person is at in terms of your particular funnel. Customer segmentation. So market segmentation is the process of dividing a market of potential customers into groups or segments based on different characteristics. So the purpose of segmentation is that you can introduce a more tailored message that will be received successfully. And segmentation is quite important when it comes to digital. And the reason being is, and you'll see as we work through the various online advertising options, what if you like, the significant advantage that digital has over traditional channels is the level of targeting that it can offer you. So Facebook, for instance, stores 100,000 data points on the average Facebook user. So the profile that they have of us as Facebook users is quite staggering. And that allows advertisers to tap into that profiling, to tap into that targeting. But in the first instance, you need to know who it is that you're trying to target. So in essence, that's why segmentation, albeit it's important for all of your marketing, but it's particularly important when it comes to your digital marketing. Buyer or customer personas then, and again, the document, the template that I will share with you guys is a template for customer or buyer personas. And you could almost describe these as an evolution of your customer segments. And really what this is a semi-fictional representation of an individual or a person from one of those segments. So you can see the example there in terms of the stay-at-home one. And what this allows you to do is to humanize your marketing efforts. So again, left to our own devices, we'll tend to try and sell, features of products and services, where in actual fact, it's much more effective if we sell the benefits of our products, the benefits of our services in terms of the particular customer type. So again, this is something that I'd recommend in terms of your digital marketing. So again, by way of a takeaway, if this isn't something that you've looked at in terms of your business, and again, you have to kind of start somewhere, as it were. So what I would say is start to describe maybe 3 to 5 suitable segments in terms of your business, and certainly something that we would have seen recently. Obviously, you might have very important segments as of normal times, but because of coronavirus and everything that goes along with that, those particular segments or perhaps those particular industries have been kind of decimated. So for instance, maybe an important segment of yours was in hospitality, but obviously, hospitality has been significantly affected in the last 12 months. So maybe you wanted to concentrate on, different segments. So again, you don't necessarily need to target all of your segments in terms of your digital marketing. You might prioritize 3 out of the 5 as a for instance. So Google Ads, folks, So Google Ads comprises of Google's advertising networks. So this includes the search network, the display network, and YouTube. So it is estimated that in 2020, about 36 cents of every advertising digital dollar will be spent on Google Ads. So what we're going to look at here in terms of Google Ads primarily is what is called Google pay-per-click. So in other words, that's where you pay for traffic to your website. So obviously, if you don't have a strong search engine optimization, if you don't appear organically from within Google, well, then Google pay-per-click is a very, very good option for you. So here's an example of what Google Ads looks like. So you see the example here from Screwfix. So I'm sure if you guys have used Google, you'll be very familiar with these types of ads. Again, here is another example in terms of Google Shopping ads. So again, you'll see in terms of what that looks like. So you can show up for display ads, video ads, search network ads, or application-based ads. In other words, if you had an app. So the search network is the most popular, and that's the one that we're going to kind of look at or focus on today. So search network ads show up for a text ad for a given Google search. So in other words, the user comes along, inputs a search into Google, and depending on the keywords or the words that they put in, particular ads show up that are targeting those particular keywords or that particular search. So basically what it is, it's an auction. So advertisers bid on the particular keywords, and the number one bidder at the given time shows up number one in terms of ads. Number two bidder shows up number two, etc., etc., etc. So these are Google Shopping ads. So Google Shopping ads can also be implemented if you run an e-commerce website, allowing you to advertise products directly on Google through your online store. So again, if you have an online store, an e-commerce website, and you have a decent catalog, this is something that I would recommend for you. So just in terms of some of the jargon then, and we don't necessarily need to get too worried about that. So PPC is pay-per-click. So we're paying for the person to visit the website. Paid search, just pretty much the same difference. So search engine marketing versus SEO, so search engine optimization. Now, sometimes these are used interchangeably, but basically when we talk about search engine marketing, we're talking about paying for people to visit our website. Cost per click is the amount that you're going to pay per click to the website, and click-through rate is the percentage of people that click through. So in other words, if your ad is shown to 100 people and 10 people click through onto the website, well, obviously then your click-through rate or your click-through percentage is 10%. So why use Google Ads? So it fills gaps where organic is weak, strengthens visibility, it gives you early and immediate access to the market. And I suppose the last one there is the fundamental one. It helps you to drive sales, inquiries, and or other conversions. So the benefits, the user is interested in your product or service and looking to buy. You reach the right people at exactly the right time. You reach people who are actively searching for the products and services that you offer. So in broad strokes, I suppose a difference between, say, Google and some of the social media channels such as Facebook, Instagram, etc., etc. And again, you don't need to look too far. You can look to your own kind of user experience and how you use these various channels and technology. So when people go to Google, typically they're looking for something. They're looking for information. They're looking for a product. They're looking for something. Whereas obviously when people go to Facebook or Instagram, what they're doing is they're looking to socialize in a digital setting. So oftentimes what that means is that Google is a better channel to drive conversions, to drive sales. It's cost effective as you only pay when a user clicks on your ad. It's highly transparent and measurable, and you have complete control over your ads and spends. So I suppose this is probably, oftentimes businesses will ask you, should we use Google Ads or will we use Google Ads? And I suppose these are some of the questions that you need to have, or these are some of the considerations that you need to have a think about. So Google Ads is one of the more challenging platforms when it comes to managing your success. So it's not really a kind of a pick up and go type platform. You've got to spend time on there, having a look at the data, developing the insights and driving incremental improvements over time. It's the nature of the platform. It can work for any business, and companies will on average double their return on investment on the platform. However, as I say, it takes time, trial and error, analysis, tweaking, and refinement. So I would suggest if you have the time or you can make the time available, it can work very, very well for your business. If you don't have the time or you can't make the time available, it's probably not going to work as well. So that's kind of a key consideration at the start. So did you know that 42% consumers have changed their mind about which brand to buy following research on the web? 58% of people expect leading brands to be on top of the search results page. And again, you can see in terms of kind of the integration that's happening now between, I suppose, traditional channels and digital channels. So while people are watching TV, nearly 80% of people are online. 34% use search engines to find the brand's website. So in other words, they might even be served with an ad during the break in their favorite TV program, and it'll go and actually look at that particular brand or business's website, as a result of that. And 16% have searched, sorry, I have to go back there. have searched for info on brands or ads. So again, you can see, so this is what's called the Google Ads ranking formula. And I mentioned, you know, it's very much about an auction. So that's the fundamental. Are you know, whoever's willing to pay the most money for the particular keyword, for the particular click at the given time. But there are other factors, and there are other factors worth considering here. So this is what's called the Google Ads ranking formula, and you can see the other factors here. I'm not going to go through them all in detail, but one significant factor here is the landing page itself. So in other words, where you're sending people to, right? So it's very important, for instance, that, you know, say you're sending someone to a page from within your website, that you have a performing website. So in other words, that the website or the web page loads quickly. So 2.5 seconds is kind of the rule of thumb nowadays. Now, again, it's not always possible for an SME business to website, but it gives an SME business to get to there. But it kind of gives you a guideline in terms of that. So the landing page that you're sending the person through, you know, how well that particular page performs, how well your website is performed. These are all critical components in being successful in terms of Google Ads. So again, if you're unsure in terms of that, where you can go to your Google Analytics, you can have a look at how your website is performing. And what I would suggest to you is that you make improvements, or, you know, if you need to make improvements, that you make those improvements before you start running Google Ads. So again, your ad campaign landing page, how quick does the page load? What's the conversion rate? What's the bounce rate? So a bounce rate is basically where someone comes onto your website, or indeed a web page, and they leave very, very quickly within 30 seconds. So they visit one page and leave quickly. So again, that's an indicator of a non-performing page or a non-performing website. So as a for instance, say that you have say that someone visits your website on a mobile device, and you don't have a mobile friendly and a mobile responsive site. Well, obviously they're going to leave very, very quickly. So for instance, if your website is not mobile optimized, not mobile friendly, generally speaking, you will have quite a high bounce rate. Okay, so Google Ads KPIs then. So you can see there, you can target a whole range of different KPIs. But again, for most businesses, for most SME businesses, they're going to be targeting direct responses. So, you know, conversions, cost per conversion rate, et cetera. So they're trying to drive typically some type of a traditional, real kind of business KPI, rather than necessarily a digital analytic. So the Google Ads structure. So I would suggest in the first instance, before you use Google Ads, this is a good idea to kind of get your head around what this looks like and how this works. So the Google Ads structure, if you like, has 3 levels. So you have a campaign level, then you have an ad groups or ad group level, and then underneath the ad group sit your ads and your keywords. So what does this kind of look like in reality? So here's an example in terms of, say, an online or even a traditional retailer. So their campaign could be a Christmas sale, right? Their ad groups then could be gifts for him, gifts for her, gifts for the kids, gifts for granny, whatever the case may be. And underneath those ad groups then would sit the ads and the keywords for those particular ad groups. Typically, for a ad group, you will typically have between 3 and 5 separate ads. And so that's kind of the structure. So what I always say to people is, you know, before you even start to engage or even set up a Google Ads account, it's a really, really good idea to start to map out what your campaign might look like on either physical or indeed virtual paper. So again, by way of a takeaway, and again, if you feel that Google Ads might be something that would work for your business, so considering the Google Ads structure, map out a Google Ads campaign for your business, at least in the first 2 levels there. So campaign and ad groups. And again, if you if you create an account with Google Ads and you kind of log in, if you have a good idea of that information, it makes the platform much easier to use in the first instance, or much easier to get started on. So Google Ads campaign here, so you can see there's 5 options that you can choose here. So search is the say that we're going to focus on, but you can also target display. So that would be, for instance, where you could have an ad show on the likes of Gmail, etc. Shopping, which we mentioned. So if you have an e-commerce store. If you have an online store and you have a pretty decent catalog, that could be a good option for you. Video here relates to YouTube. Obviously, you'd have to have video content, and it can work very, very well. And universal app here relates to an app, a mobile app. So in other words, if you had a mobile app and you wanted to encourage people to download that particular app. But as I say, for the purposes of this example here, we're going to look at search. So you can see here there's 3 further options. So are we going to target sales? Are we going to target leads? Or are we going to target website traffic? Now, there is one further option, if you can see it down here. You can also target phone calls. Now, obviously, this will only work on a mobile device, but say that you were a B2B business, as a for instance, and you wanted to target, say phone calls. You can actually just drive phone calls directly to the business. So that's an option there as well. Now, it will only work, as I say, on a mobile device. It's obviously not going to work on a traditional device. So you name your campaign, whatever your campaign is. So in the example I've given you guys earlier on, you know, it might be a Christmas sale, for instance. Then you add your campaign targeting. So here you can see in this particular example, you know, this is maybe a local retailer who wants to target their particular locality. So again, if the retailer is based in Naas, there wouldn't be much point in them, you know, targeting people in Cork or Donegal or somewhere like that. They want to target people in terms of their particular surround. Even if you were a national retailer and you had, you know, different retail outlets in urban centres, it might make sense actually to target those urban centres and surrounds rather than Ireland, you know, Ireland nationally. But again, the right fit for your business is obviously something that you need to have a think about. In terms of, if you like, managing your budget, there's 2 things that you need to put in here. Now, these can be difficult to answer at the very start. So I suppose you have to do your best under the circumstances. You can always go back later on and kind of change them. So the first one there is the average that you want to spend each day. And what I would say is just put in a figure that you're comfortable with initially. You can always go back and change it. And the second one there at the very end is the maximum cost per click bid limit. So in other words, this is the maximum amount that you're willing to pay per click to your website or per click to your landing page. I'd say in that particular example, it's meant to be 90 cents rather than 90 euros, if I was to guess, just in terms of looking at. But again, you know, difficult questions to answer at the start. But what I would say is, you know, put a figure in both instances that you're comfortable with, and you can certainly go back and change these later on. More often than not, you probably will. So in terms of end state, so you can run ads concurrently or ongoing, or indeed you can set an end date. So in the example that we gave in terms of Christmas, for instance, you know, it could be Christmas Eve, for instance. So again, it very much depends. And there's a whole range of different what are called extensions that you can add. So we'll look at what they are later on. So you can see here we're creating the actual ad groups themselves. And as we create the ad groups, we can start to add various keywords or key phrases that we want to target. And again, we've different ways in which we can use those particular key phrases. So we can have what's called a broad match, a phrase match, or an exact match. So again, we'll look at what that looks like later on. So you create multiple ad groups, let's say, you know, somewhere at least at a starting point, somewhere between 3 to 5 ad groups, and then you will have somewhere between 3 to 5 ads that will sit under each of those particular ad groups. And then you will create, as I say, the ads for each particular. So you see the example there and putting the information in terms of one call out just in terms of this. If you're sending people to your website, say that you're trying to market or advertise a particular product or indeed a particular service from within your website, it's very important that you send people to the actual landing page, the URL of that particular product and particular service. You don't want to send people to your homepage and then, for instance, they have to find where that product or where that service is. So all the time what we're trying to do is we're trying to create less clicks for people. So the rule of thumb in terms of clicks, again, is we want the customer to be able to do whatever it is that we want them to be able to do: buy a product, make an inquiry, you know, make a phone call within 3 clicks, ideally. So you can see the ads being created here, and then you review and publish. Now, obviously, that's it in shorthand. It takes a little bit more time, as it were, in terms of that. So I suppose this is the fundamental in terms of Google Ads. So this is what are called keywords. So keywords are what you're going to be targeting with your ads. So this is the Google Keyword Planner, and this is the tool that you use. So rather than just show you guys the slides, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take you in here and show you the Keyword Planner. So just bear with me. Okay, folks, just checking in with you guys that you can see my screen there, yeah? You can see, are you still there, Grace? You can see my screen? Oh, someone I think just came back there, yeah. So I'm going to, yeah, cool. So I'm going to pick on a Donegal business, provided I just need to make sure I have the URL correct. So it's inishpharmacy.com, yeah. So I'm just going to copy and paste that. So these are a pretty successful local business based out Donegal who are certainly making waves in terms of kind of online and e-commerce. So I'm going to use those as the example just. So I have a Google Ads account set up, obviously. So I'm just going to click in here. Take a second to load. So this is the Google Ads dashboard here. Now, again, what I would say in terms of the Google Keyword Tool, that even if you're not going to run Google Ads, the Google Keyword Tool is a fantastic tool, a fantastic resource to use in any case. And you don't necessarily need to set up ads to access it. Now, you will need to give Google your credit card details, so you need to be careful that you don't accidentally set up ads. But even if it's just in terms of your search engine optimization and keyword research, it's a fantastic tool in that respect. So I'm going to click on this here, which is Tools and Settings. And if you see here, it gives me this menu. So under Planning, I have the Keyword Planner. So I'm going to click into the Keyword Planner. Again, it's going to take a second to load. So I have two further options here. You can see Discover New Keywords or Get Search Volume and Forecast. So again, just for the purposes of example here or demonstration, I'm going to click on Discover New Keywords. So you can see here, it gives me two further options. So start with keywords or start with a website. So obviously, if I was researching a particular keyword and I had an idea of a phrase, or I would put that in there. But again, as I say, just for the purposes of this example, I'm going to start with a website. So you can see in terms of my default settings here, so my default is English, i.e. the English language, and my default in terms of location is Ireland. So we're going to be looking at search traffic or keyword research from Ireland. But again, I could change that to the UK, for instance, if I wanted to do some research into the UK, or indeed I could even change that to, say, Donegal if I wanted to do research in terms of Donegal. Two further options here. I can use the entire site, or I can use only this page. So again, I'm going to, for the purpose of demonstration, I'm going to use the entire site here. But say that I was just researching a particular product or service from within my business, or even within a competitor's business, well, then I would use only that page or only that URL from within the site. So again, I'm going to just put the Inish Pharmacy guys here, and I'm going to use the entire site. So I'm going to click on Get Results. So you can see here that the Google Keywords tool or the Google Keyword Planner has generated, based on the Inish Pharmacy website, 761 keyword ideas that I could use organically, or indeed I could use with my Google Ads. So you can see here are the keywords, here are the average monthly searches. So if I click on average monthly searches here, so Irish pharmacy, I don't know how necessarily relevant, but what it's telling me here is that in an Irish context, that has between 1,000 and 10,000 searches per month. I can see over here in terms of Google Ads that people are spending between 25 cents and 70 cents to appear top of the rankings in terms of Google Ads, or the #1 ad. Now, the difference there will typically be, time and stuff like that. So for instance, generally speaking, it's going to be more expensive to appear #1 in terms of Google Ads at 6 p.m. in the evening than, say, it is at 2 p.m. At 2 a.m. in the morning, as a for instance. So again, if I click on top of page bid here, I'm just going to click on this to get something more substantive here. So we can see here again, so you can see for this particular key term here, I don't know what this is. You can see it's huge in terms of what people are willing to pay. So they're willing to pay between 21 euros and 32 cents and 45 euros and 79 cents in terms of Google Ads. So that's for a single click in terms of that particular key term or keyword there. So obviously, and generally what this will tell you where people are prepared to spend, you know, quite a substantial amount of money. Generally, what that will tell you is that that particular key term or keyword or keywords is converting for those advertisers who are targeting it via Google Ads. In other words, why else would they be prepared to spend that particular money? So again, there's 761 keyword ideas there. So for instance, if I was working on behalf of Inish Pharmacy and I could download that keyword list if I wanted to, I would start to go through those keywords and I would start to identify which ones that I feel are relevant in terms of that business. And probably, you know, not all of them are going to necessarily be relevant, you know. So again, that's the Google keyword tool. You know, what I would say to you is that is a very, very effective and a very, very useful tool, irrespective of Google Ads. So even if you're just doing, you know, if you're just targeting SEO in terms of your website, or you want to do keyword research in terms of SEO in terms of your website, it's a brilliant tool to use in any case. So that's the Google keyword tool. So if I was doing some keyword research on behalf of an SME client, now depending a little bit in terms of the client, oftentimes I will spend anything up to 2 days creating a keyword list in terms of that client. Now it can sometimes be dependent on the client. So obviously if it was an e-commerce or an online business with 500 or maybe 1,000 product catalog, you know, that list could run into 2,500 keywords or 2,500 words. If it was a slightly more traditional business, you know, you might start with 400 or 500 words as a for instance. But again, as I say, it's a very, very effective tool. So you can see here, in terms of using the keyword planner then, so we're picking particular keywords and then we're adding those keywords to our ad groups or to our ads, depending on what we feel is relevant. And really, I suppose the job with Google Ads more often than not is trying to identify which keywords are relevant. And what I would say to you is that, you know, we all have a professional speak in terms of what we do. More often than not, our customers don't describe what we do using the same phrases, the same words, the same phraseology that we do. But obviously, when it comes to your online marketing, when it comes to any online advertising that you do, particularly in terms of Google, it's your customers or your prospects' language, phraseology, and words that's important, not yours. And oftentimes, you know, there's surprises in there. So an example I always give is an accountancy firm I worked for a good number of years back. And when I did the keyword research for the particular accountants, what we found is that there was a common misspelling. You know, it was an American spelling rather than an English spelling, but it was very, very widely used in terms of their particular market segment. You know, so we decided to target that misspelling, that Americanism, to you know, and it was quite successful in terms of that particular business. But had we not done the keyword research, we wouldn't have discovered that. In other words, we wouldn't have known that situation existed. So I'm just going to check in terms of the chat here, folks. Let's see what's coming through there. It's not loading for me at the minute. So if you have questions, folks, what I will do is, as I say, I will hang on in the end. I just can't get the chat up there. So that's the keyword planner. This is another tool that you can use. Now you've got to integrate this or use this in conjunction with your Google Analytics, but it can do some of the heavy lifting, in other words, for you. So this is a tool called Uber Suggest. So once you plug this into your Google Analytics, what it will start to do is it will start to suggest keywords or key phrases to you on an ongoing basis. So again, it's another one that you can use, and as I say, it starts to do some of the heavy lifting for you. So long tail keywords. So when we talk in terms of keywords or keyword research, we talk in terms of two different types of keywords. So one is what we call short tail keywords, and the second one then is what we call long tail keywords. Long tail keywords are typically keywords or key phrases that have 4 or 5 or more phrases in them. And generally speaking, long tail keywords, right, will indicate someone at the end or closer to the end of their buying journey. So the example here is hotel with swimming pool in Dublin. So in other words, you know, someone who is just researching hotels in Dublin might just put in a phrase such as Dublin hotels or hotels in Dublin or something like that. But someone who knows that, you know, they want a swimming pool in the hotel, well, obviously they're going to put more words in there. So hotel near the airport, as a for instance, would be another example, right? So again, when it comes to doing your keyword research, and certainly when it comes to targeting your Google Ads, more often than not, you're better off to target long tail keywords because they represent people at the end or closer to the end of their buying journey. So the top 10,000 keywords make up less than 20% of overall search traffic, even though they're the most volume, the highest volume searches. 70% comes from long tail keywords. These are highly specific 4 or 6 word phrases. And again, you don't necessarily need to look too far. You can look at, you know, in terms of how you use Google. So typically, you know, at the very start, when you're doing your research, you put kind of less words in there. But when you start to really know what it is that you're looking for, right, you're able to put more information, more words into your searches. So when picking the right keywords for your Google Ads campaign, there's one crucial factor to keep in mind, and that's intent. What is the searcher expecting to get from the search? What are they looking for? And what does the specific search tell you about their stage in the buying journey? So in the example of TVs, if someone is just starting their buying journey, they don't know what TV they want. They're likely to be searching to compare products or narrow down the product type. Whereas users lower down in the funnel, closer to buying, will search for specific TV sizes or where they can purchase them, etc., etc. So intent is crucial to successful ads. So if you target keywords like plasma or LCD with an ad focused on buying one, no one will convert. They're looking to compare first, not buy immediately. So in the example of TV here, you can see, and again, we relate this back to the online marketing funnel. The top, middle, and the lower of the funnel. And what we can see here is when people are at the lower end of the funnel, when they're closer to converting, typically they will put more information, more words in there. In other words, they will use long tail keywords or long tail searches ahead of short tail. So again, you know, a good starting point in terms of you know, running. Start to think up 5 long tail keywords for your Google Ads campaign. So I had a woman on a course recently, and her product, or one of her products, is she does quite a premium or a customized bunk bed for children. That was one of her products. So she was running Google Ads and she was targeting bunk beds at the time. But what I suggested to her is that she should look at variations on that. So premium bunk beds or customized bunk beds, etc., etc., etc. And again, those small changes in terms of our Google Ads campaign led to a better performance, you know, more conversions, more sales, etc., etc. So again, it's all about stepping in to the digital or indeed the virtual shoes of your prospect or your customer and figuring out how they search for the products and services that you offer. Targeting then, so you can see in terms of the targeting here, so, you know, we can target Ireland, we can target the UK, we could target globally, we could target locally. Again, what's right? The other thing I would say in terms of targeting, you know, and sometimes you'll be in an industry where, you know, your competitors potentially will have deep pockets. So sometimes you need to kind of change it up in terms of you do. So we were running Google Ads for a client there recently, and what we've decided to do is not run the ads, you know, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. We decided to run the ads at quite specific times over the weekend. So as far as I remember, it was between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So, you know, they couldn't outbid their competitors if they were to spread their budget over the week, or they couldn't. So what we decided to do, as I say, is target key times or that we felt were going to be most successful. So again, that's something that you can do in terms of your business. You know, you don't necessarily need to run the ads all of the time. So in terms of the targeting here, so you can use the advanced search button for specific targeting. So you see kind of examples here in terms of geo-targeting. So we're looking here and we're targeting various areas kind of within Leinster, again, depending on what's ever relevant in terms of the particular business. So these are what are called negative keywords. So I'd mentioned to you guys at the start that there's different match types that you can put. So what I would recommend for businesses at the start is they would choose a broad match type in terms of their keywords. What that would mean is you'll put a keyword or a keyword combination in there, but the user mightn't search for that in exactly that way. So there could be other words in there, etc., etc., etc. So Google Ads Network is based on keywords. You search for them using the keyword planner and you create your new campaigns based on them. But keywords are just that, keywords. They aren't necessarily the direct terms you pay for. So on ads, depending on which match types you use, you are paying for dozens of different related search terms, or you could also call them variations on the search terms that you put in. You can see these phrases directly in your ads account under the search terms report in your keyword dashboard. So the best way to utilize this report is to search the results by top converting search terms and then use them as new campaign ideas. And this is kind of how Google Ads works. You know, you run a campaign, you start to get insight, intelligence and data from that particular campaign. And then what that allows you to do is to improve your next campaign. And if you find search terms that you don't want to pay for, Google Ads allows you to add these as negative keywords, meaning your ads won't show up for these terms. To do so, simply select them in your search terms report and add them as negative keywords. So this would be kind of the approach that I would recommend at the start, that you choose a broad match type, which, as I say, will give you dozens of variations, but then that you analyze and manage the data and you add those that are not working as negative keywords, and kind of by elimination almost you end up with the keywords that are going to work best in terms of your particular campaign, your particular ads. Ad copy then, so a couple of things to be mindful. So what you bear in mind that you're paying for the website traffic. You don't want to over promise and under deliver, because that's just the cost of the business. So ideally, if you buy search engine traffic or you get someone to visit your website and you're paying for that, you want them to convert, or you certainly want as many of those people to convert as you possibly can. So that's why it's very important that whatever you put in your ad copy, right, that wherever you send the people, that it matches up. As I say, you don't over-promise and under-deliver, because that will just cost the business. So these are some of the things that you need to be mindful of. So compelling message, your unique selling proposition, right? So what differentiates you from your competition? Why should the customer do business with you? Why should they become your customer ahead of the competition? Obviously, in terms of online stuff like promotions, offers, discounts, free, etc., limited offer, these will all work well in an online context. It can be a good idea to include the keywords in the actual ad copy itself to highlight a call to action. Visit the website, call up, whatever the case may be. I mentioned this earlier on, to create mobile specific ads where applicable. So mobile search engine traffic is running at about 60 or 60+% of overall search traffic at the moment. So just to be mindful in terms of that, depending on certain industries, it can be much higher. So mobile specific ads where applicable. So I gave you the example earlier on in terms of, targeting phone calls. That obviously will only work in terms of a mobile. Matching the ad to the landing page. And again, when people get into Google Ads in a serious way, what they will do is they will create specific landing page for their specific campaigns. It's and it pays them, in other words, to do that. So always have 2 to 3 ads per ad group. Again, I'd recommend go beyond that, even have 4 or 5. To see what performs best. Try multiple ads until you find the ones that work. And again, all the time you're testing, different variations. So slightly different wording, different calls to action, and different landing pages. These will all make potentially big differences in terms of your ads. So site links, so you can see in terms of the example there on the right-hand side from Aldi, they're what are called site links. So in other words, they're links to other areas or pages from within the website. And these are things that you can set up in terms of your ad. So you can set these up in the same way. So you just go to the campaign that you want to add the site links to, and then you click on the Add Extensions tab, create a new site link, depending on what that site link is. So you can see it being done there. And obviously then you can send. So for instance, you maybe have a frequently asked questions page in your website, as a for instance. So what you might do is create a site link to your frequently asked questions page. You might have a testimonials or a reviews page within your website. So what you might do is create a site link to your reviews or your testimonials, as a for instance. Okay. So there are other ad extensions that can be added. So here's are some of the other examples that you can. So the click to call extension, which I mentioned, so you can see the example there from the aa.ie. So obviously that's in the context of a mobile phone, but if I click on that little call button there, that will allow me to call the business directly. Location extensions in the example with Tree Ireland there. So you can see there, so obviously Tree Ireland will have local retail outlets based all over the country. So obviously if I click on that and I'm based in Donegal, for instance, I want the link to the nearest Tree Ireland in Donegal, in Letterkenny, or wherever it might be up there. I don't necessarily want the one in Cork or Limerick. So that's how that would work. App download extension. So you see in terms of super value there, so they're asking people to download their free app. So these are all things that you can do from within the platform. Landing pages. So I mentioned at the very, very start, this is a kind of a critical component on making sure that your ads are successful. So where are you sending them to? So again, as I mentioned, make sure you're sending them to the relevant page from within the website, with respect to that particular product, with respect to that particular service. So a visitor to your landing page decides whether to stay or not within 8 seconds. So display all important information, avoid the user having to scroll or search to find your content. And that's a website there, or a company that basically allows you to create custom landing pages. But they have a kind of a nifty tool in there. It's called the landing page grader. So even before you go and run Google Ads, you could go there, put in your page or the landing page that you're going to send people to, and get that tool to grade your particular page. And as I say, if it suggests improvements, I would suggest that you go and make those improvements before you run Google Ads. This is another tool to create custom landing pages called leadpages.net. And this is another one here. Generally speaking, some of these are free, but generally speaking, you have to pay for them. But certainly in the first instance, just even using the grading tools is a good start. So what makes a good landing page then? Well, the content matches the search query. It fulfills the promise made by the ad or referral source. It provides relevant, useful, or original content, transparent, and promotes trust, easy to navigate. If it's a product, the product title and image are prominent and visible, clear calls to action, and minimal clicks to conversion. As I say, less than 3 is the rule of thumb. So what we want to do is we want the prospect, we want the customer, we want the person to be able to do whatever it is that we want them to do within 3 clicks, ideally, or as close to as we possibly can. Bidding strategy then. So again, it's relatively self-evident, I would say here. So you increase bids on keywords or ad groups that perform well against your KPIs. So in other words, they're returning on investment. So obviously you spend more of your budget there. You decrease bids on keywords, ad groups that they do not perform well. So you can analyze average position when deciding if a keyword does not perform well. So in other words, depending on the particular keyword that you're targeting, there might be 7, 8, 9, 10 advertisers bidding on that particular keyword. Obviously, if you appear, number 7, 8, 9, most of the time, that's going to have an impact in terms of how that particular ad performs. So again, just to be mindful in terms of that. But by the same token, if you're position 1 all of the time, obviously there's no point in increasing bids for that, because obviously you'd only really be bidding against yourself. So consider increasing budgets for keywords or ad groups that perform really well, and obviously decrease budgets for keywords or ad groups that don't perform well. And again, as I say, it's not the type of tool that necessarily you set up a campaign or you set up AdWords in the first instance and it kind of takes off for you. It does require your time. It does require your consideration. It does require you to go in there and look at the data, analyze the data, and tweak what you're doing. And again, it's, you know, and it's not just related to online advertising. I would say this relates to digital marketing more generally. You know, really it's about incremental improvement. You know, sometimes you get big wins, but, you know, you get small wins relatively consistently over a kind of a 12-month period, that if you add all of those wins together, if you add all of those improvements together, you know, they equate to a big improvement, as I say, over that time frame. But again, it's just that's how to set yourself up for success. I'm going to focus, if you like, to the large extent on Facebook, but again, just to be mindful here, because Instagram is owned by Facebook. You know, when we talk about Instagram ads and Facebook ads, it's pretty much, or it's very, very similar, you know. So social ads. So again, key differences between, and again, this isn't hard and fast, but again, it's just to be mindful of, well, what do we use Google to do? What do we use Facebook and Instagram to do? You know, what are the strengths and weaknesses of the various platforms, etc. And broadly speaking, what you can say is that when people go to Google, they're looking for information. When people go to Facebook or Instagram, you know, more often than not, they're looking to kind of catch up with their friends and family, etc., etc. So they don't tend to be in buying mode in the same way. So broadly speaking, social ads are very good at awareness, right? Less good in terms of driving sales and conversions, but there are ways around that if you start to kind of understand the platforms and how they work, etc., etc. So social advertising delivers ads to your exact target audience at the right time and on the platform that they're hanging out. So as consumers, we no longer need to look for products. Products are finding us. So examples of social advertising would include Facebook ads, Instagram ads, Twitter ads, and YouTube ads. So here's some of the types of targeting. So you can do what are called remarketing ads. So remarketing ads are where someone, for instance, has visited your website, and I'm sure you guys have had the experience of this, and you serve them potentially with something like a discount or an offer, you know, some days later. So you'll probably have had the example where you were on a given website, you know, you're on Facebook, it's 3 or 4 or 5 days, and suddenly you're served with an offer or a discount or an ad for that business. And what you're thinking is, oh, that's coincidental, but it's not coincidental. You've been tracked and you've been served with that ad. So Facebook have a piece of code called a Facebook pixel. And if you install that Facebook pixel to your website, then you can remarket to people who have visited your website on Facebook and Instagram. LinkedIn also have a Facebook pixel that you can install. And as far as I know, the likes of TikTok and so on and so forth also have a Facebook pixel. So again, if you wanted to target people on TikTok, you install. Geo-targeted ads, kind of self-evident. List ads, targeted ad, interesting competitor targeting ads, and lookalike ads. So we'll take a look in terms of how it works. So again, this is true with the internet generally, but certainly when it comes to social media. So obviously something like Instagram, for instance, is 100% mobile because it's a mobile application. But even with the likes of Facebook, right, 96% of active Facebook users access the social media platform via their mobile device. You can see it's, for all intents and purposes, it's a mobile platform. Again, if you look at Twitter or LinkedIn, they're not quite in the 90s, but you know, they're well over the 50%. So again, when we talk about online nowadays, when we talk about digital, we are prioritizing mobile over desktop. So what does that look like in practical terms? Well, in practical terms, say that you were creating a piece of video content, as a for instance, that you were going to use with your Facebook advertising. It's better that that video is in a square rather than a landscape format. So landscape being your traditional format, because a square format will take up more real estate on your mobile phone. In other words, it will take up more of the screen, right? Certainly when it comes to video marketing, it's in your best interest to use subtitles or what are called SRT files, because again, if you look at Facebook or indeed any of the social media on your mobile device, what you will see is the default setting is sound off. So in other words, If someone, you know, is served an ad on their news feed and it's a video ad, the sound will be off, so they won't hear the audio of that. So if you have subtitles running, if someone's talking or whatever, you know, that's going to encourage them in. So just to be mindful in terms of mobile, but even in terms of, you know, graphics and stuff like that, you know, say you're adding a piece of text to a particular graphic, you know, that can look perfectly legible, perfectly fine on your traditional device, i.e. your laptop or your computer. But when you go and look at that on a mobile phone, you know, the font size is too small, as a, for instance, it's illegible. So again, very, very simple check that people can do, and I'd encourage people to do it. You know, go and consume the content from the point of view of your consumer, from the point of view of your prospect, i.e. on your mobile phone. Don't put out a piece of digital content wherever you're going to put it out unless you've viewed it on your mobile phone, unless you've experienced it from the point of view of your customer, from the point of view of your prospect. Think video. So again, they estimate that in 2020, 82% of internet search traffic, or somewhere between high 70s, will have come via video. So really the internet is about mobile, and the internet is also about video. So really nowadays, you can't afford not to do video marketing in terms of your business. You see over in terms of the stat there, 64% of consumers are more likely to buy a product after watching a video about it. And again, this is kind of common sense. So, you know, obviously if you take a retail environment, you can touch, smell, see the product. Obviously in an online setting, you can't do that. So it's a big limitation, but the type of content that comes closest to matching that experience is video. So we see it with clients. You know, clients would have a product catalog, maybe 500 or 1,000 products, you know, and they go and create maybe 50 product videos of maybe their top 25 or top 50 products. What they'll generally see is they'll generally see an increase in sales around those products. I won't say overnight, but almost overnight. So video sells, and it sells better than other types of content. So certainly in terms of Facebook, or even to the large degree in terms of, this is often where people start in terms of Facebook advertising. So around boosted posts. So the question is, should you boost posts? And the answer is generally no, right? Although there can be some exceptions. The reason why the answer is no is the default setting in terms of boosted posts, right, is either to your Facebook audience, i.e. people who like your page, or people who like your page and their friends. Now, that only makes sense if the people who already like your page have the potential or the possibility to become your customers. But more often than not, they don't, because people have grown the likes of their page without actually considering whether the people liking their page or not, you know, are the right type of people, if it's the right audience. So, you know, I've seen a local retailer in one particular county, and when we look at the people who like their Facebook page, what we find out is that, you know, 50% of their Facebook audience aren't even based in the county. Right, they just targeted people liking the page rather than you know, who exactly those people are, or whether exactly those people, you know, as I say, had the potential. So your local retailer, a traditional bricks and mortar retailer, you know, you want people to be at least based in the county, if not in the town or the surrounds. So that's why boosted posts, you know, are rarely a good option in terms of your business. Now, again, if you boost content or amplify content to targeted audiences that loosely or closely align with your customer segments, that's an entirely different matter. So Facebook has an option called automated ads. So again, this kind of does some of the heavy lifting for you, but it has some limitations. So I would say Facebook automated ads are a better option than boosted posts for sure, but they certainly won't give you the same flexibility or the same options that the Facebook Ads Manager platform, if you like, Facebook Ads will give you. So you can see here in terms of kind of, so automated ads are good for leads, bookings, or traffic, right? But certainly if you want to be more specific or you want to be more targeted, they have limitations. So again, you know, if you don't want to spend the time on Facebook ads, I'd recommend automated ads. But again, obviously, you know, they have some limitations. So Facebook ad types then. So there's various different ad types that you can use. So oftentimes, you start with the simple one. So image ads. These simple ads are a great way to get started with Facebook paid advertising. You can create with just a few clicks by boosting an existing post with an image from your Facebook page. Video tends to work really, really well with Facebook. So generally speaking, you can buy video views with a targeted audience on Facebook for about 1 to 2 cents per view, which in digital marketing terms is very, very cost effective, as you'll see there from the Google Ads example. So video ads can run in the newsfeed and stories, or they can appear in in-stream ads in longer Facebook videos. Your video ads don't need to use filmed video footage. You can also create GIF-like graphics or other animation. So as a for instance, you have a product and you have 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 pictures or images of that product. You could create a video from those images and use that. Now, again, so it doesn't necessarily need to be video in the truest. And again, if you're not familiar with video, that can be a decent starting point. Poll, this mobile-only Facebook ad format interacts an interactive component by adding a 2-option poll to an image or video ad. So obviously, it's very much about awareness or engagement. It's not necessarily going to drive a conversion there. Carousel ads use up to 10 images or videos to showcase your products or service. So you use to highlight different benefits of one product or several different products, or even use all the photos together to create one large panorama image. Each image or video can have its own link. You can also have slideshow ads. So slideshow ads can offer an easy way to create short video ads from an existing collection of still photos, text, or existing video clips. I'm just going to need to move this here. Collection, these are for mobile only. They allow you to showcase 5 images or videos that customers can click to buy a product or indeed service. Instant experience used to be called Canvas. They're full screen ad format that loads 15 times faster than a mobile website outside of Facebook. Lead ads are only available for mobile devices. They're designed to make it easier for people to give your contact information without a lot of typing, or collecting newsletter subscriptions, signing up people for a trial of your product, or allowing people to ask for more information from you. Dynamic, say someone has visited a product page or placed a product in their shopping cart on their website, but they abandoned the purchase. With dynamic ads, you can advertise that specific product in their news book feed. Now, again, as I say, depending on, if you're targeting people in terms of your website, you have to have installed the Facebook Pixel, which is a relatively easy thing to do. But at the same time, your web designer or indeed your web developer can help you out in terms of doing that. Messenger ads. So these are ads within Facebook Messenger. Story ads. So you'll be familiar with story content in terms of either Facebook or Instagram. It's 24-hour content, tends to be highly visual content, combination of images or videos. So story ads are a mobile only full screen vertical video format that allows you to maximize screen real estate without expecting viewers to turn their screen. And augmented reality ads use features like filters and animation to allow people to interact with you. So you can see, there's a whole range of different options. So what I would say is, in terms of Facebook, and again, this applies to Instagram to the large extent. So start off by considering which ad formats would work for your particular business, depending on the type of content that you have readily available, or that you can create relatively easily. So again, that's a consideration. Ad objectives then. So again, anything that you do with respect to Facebook or Instagram, I recommend that you use the Facebook Ads Manager or the Facebook Ads Manager platform. So you choose your objectives. So you can see here, and again, this aligns with that online marketing funnel that I introduced you guys to at the very start of the session. So you can see there, awareness, consideration, and conversion, right? And you can see the different objectives that you can have under, if you like, those 3 stages or those 3 levels. So brand awareness introduces your brand to a new audience. Reach exposes your ad to as many people in your audience as possible. Traffic drives traffic to a specific web page, app, or Facebook Messenger conversion. Engagement, reach a wide audience to increase the number of post engagements or page follows, increase attendance at your event, or encourage people to claim a special offer. So you go to the Facebook Ads Manager and choose your objective. So app installs, video views, lead generation, messages, conversions, catalog sales. So again, in terms of if you have, again, you have to have an e-commerce or an online shop, and you have to have integrated your e-commerce store, your online shop with Facebook. If your website or if your e-commerce site is built on any of the main content management platforms, so WordPress, WooCommerce, Shopify, etc., it's a relatively straightforward thing to do. But again, as I say, you may need to get your web developer, your web designer to help you in terms of that. So store traffic would be footfall. So drive nearby customers to your bricks and mortar premises. So again, in terms of Facebook advertising, again, what I would say is, as a takeaway, consider which objectives you should target, in terms of your business, in terms of what you're trying to do. So again, it will be very much depend in terms of what it is that you're trying to do in terms of your business. What are your kind of important business KPIs, as it were? So again, Facebook has an ads campaign. And again, loosely speaking, you will see that it's not altogether dissimilar from what that you saw on Google there. So again, it has 3 levels. So 3 parts to run. So you have the campaign level, the ad set level, and then the ads themselves. So all of these parts make up your campaign structure, and knowing how they work together will help your ads run the way you want and reach the right people. So again, the more so than with Google Ads, what I would say is, before you engage with Facebook advertising, have a think how a Facebook campaign, how this structure might work for you. And again, start to map it out on either virtual or indeed physical paper. And again, this will make it easier in terms of creating a campaign. So you name your campaign and declare whether your ads fits in any special categories. So again, that's down to politics and kind of stuff like that. If you want to set up an A/B split test, so A/B split test is where you test, if you like, 2 variations. Get started in the A/B test section to set this ad as your control. You can choose different versions to run against this ad after it's published. So an example might be, you might be considering giving customers, say, a 10% discount, versus you might be considering offer them, free postage or free shipping. Now, the cost of the business could be relatively the same. So in other words, it's the same cost to the business, but you don't know which is going to work better with your prospects or your customers. So an A/B test would allow you to test those assumptions and see which one works better. Budget optimization. So this is an automatic feature. So this allows Facebook to manage your budget optimization for you. And I certainly would say if you're starting off with Facebook ads, it's a good idea to keep this box checked. So the ad set, then you name your ad set, page, choose which page to promote if you have more than one. Obviously, if you've only one, that's not relevant. Budget, you can choose a daily budget or indeed a lifetime budget. And schedule, you can set the start and end dates if you want to schedule your ad or choose to make it live straight away. So as I say, you might be targeting Easter or something like that. Again, depending on whatever is relevant in terms of your particular business. So Facebook ads targeting. So I'm just going to take you in here again, just to show you. So really what I would suggest is, when it comes to Facebook advertising, that what you do is you create your saved audiences ahead of time. Can you guys see that? Just checking in.
Yes.
You can. Okay. So Facebook, they still have, as far as I know, but it's going away because of I suppose privacy concerns and kind of all of that. But Facebook, you still have a tool called the Facebook Audience Insights tool. I don't know if I can still get into it here. We shall see. Sorry, that's not it. I just need to find it here. Okay. Yeah, okay, so it's gone. Okay, so So this is a client page here. So what I'm going to do, you can see here, so there's some default settings of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change this here in terms of an audience. So I have some filters up here. So first thing I can do is put in a location. So I'm going to click on Donegal, Ireland. So you can see here, when I put in Donegal, Ireland, what it's telling me here straight away is that the potential audience size from within Donegal, Ireland is 100,000 people or approximate. So basically what it's telling me is around 100,000 people have Facebook profiles or are Facebook users and are based in Donegal. So you can see here in terms of the various demographics in terms of genders, etc., etc., etc. You can see, so you can see where these people are based. So obviously the 22% of this audience are based in Letterkenny, etc., etc., etc. So let's just say, for argument's sake, that I was, let's just say I was a pet store, pet. So we'll say dog walking. I don't know what this will look like now. And so I'm going to put in interest here, dog walking. So again, say I'm a pet shop owner, right, in Donegal, local retail, bricks and mortar business, and I want to target. Now that's just one interest. I could add more here, such as, let's just see what else is giving me in terms of dogs. Dog training, we'll put dog training in here. So doesn't do much. Okay, so you can see now that straight away that's cut down this particular audience size. So it's given me an audience size of 11,000 people based in Donegal. Now again, one of the things with Facebook marketing you've got to be careful of, obviously, you know, obviously if you're living in a big urban center like Dublin or somewhere like that with lots and lots of people, you know, you can put plenty of interest in there and you'll still, relatively speaking, have a large group of people. Whereas obviously if you go to a rural area within Ireland, you know, and you start to put too many interests in there, that audience will start to get quite small. And again, Facebook it needs to be of a certain size. But I suppose what you've got to do, certainly if you're based in a kind of a rural location, is you've got to kind of balance, as it were, you know, interest with then obviously that audience size. But again, as I say, I'm a bricks and mortar, you know, pet retailer. You know, I have products for dogs, as a for instance, you know, whatever those products might be. So what I could do then is I could save this particular audience, or I could create this audience, and then what I could do is advertise to this specific audience. So say that I have some really, I don't know, cool new lead for dogs or something like that, something very fancy. I have a video of that particular product. What I would do then is I would advertise that product to that particular audience, as an example. So what I would say is, before you start with Facebook, or for that matter, Instagram advertising, that you go to the Facebook Ads Manager platform and you start to create suitable saved audiences for your Facebook and Instagram ads. And again, loosely or as closely as you can, you know, they should align with your customer segments. Now, you know, be mindful of the fact, obviously, that you know, if you're looking at a rural area and you put in too specific a customer segment there, it's going to have an impact in terms of that particular audience size. But certainly in terms of, you know, say you're a local retailer in Donegal, obviously nowadays, certainly in an Irish context, I mean, you know, people want to buy locally, they want to support local Irish businesses. So again, even just that in of itself can be enough relevance for some people. So what I would say is use the Audience Insights Manager. I don't know if it's still available, but again, even within the Facebook Ads Manager platform, start to do some research on there and start to create saved audiences for your Facebook and your Instagram advertising. And even if you're just marketing on Instagram, you're not using Facebook, what I would suggest is to create your Instagram saved audiences there. So then when it comes along, as you put a piece of content up on your Facebook page, you're targeting that content at a particular segment, and then you want to amplify, or you want to target that content to one of your saved audiences. So in other words, you know, this is something that you can do depending on a kind of given basis. So that's kind of where you start. So these are the targeting options that you have. So demographics, which we looked at there, includes location, age, and gender. Detailed targeting, so you can include or exclude people based on demographics, interests, and behaviors. You can get really specific here, but again, as I say, when you're in an urban location, you know, too specific here can be counterintuitive. For instance, you could choose to target people who are interested in both meditation and yoga, but exclude people who are interested in hot yoga, as a for instance. You can target exclude people who have an existing connection to your Facebook page. Now, again, as I said, this makes sense if the people connected to your Facebook page have the potential or the possibility to become your customer. If you want to promote an offer or new product to existing fans, select people who like your page to reach people who already know your brand. Estimates. So what you will see here is that once you create an ad, Facebook will start to estimate for you based on, if you like, what it feels the ad will do. So these estimates will be more accurate if you've run campaigns before, since Facebook will have more data to work with. So again, depending on the performance of your previous campaigns, so you can see here, and it gives you an audience definition. So in other words, when you create ads, if the little counter goes into red there, the audience size isn't big enough. So you kind of want it to be within the green. And what I would say is, if you get too detailed in a local level, oftentimes it goes into the red. So sometimes there's a little bit of a balancing act to be there. So what it's telling me here is the estimated daily results. So we'll reach somewhere between 839 people and 2,400 people. And in this particular ad example, it will result in daily between 32 and 92 likes. So in terms of this example, it's targeting engagement, as a for instance. Okay, so your audience locations, some of this you'll be familiar with. So the example here is Cork, local retailer in Cork, bricks and mortar retailer in Cork. Obviously, I want to target Cork and the surrounds. I don't want to be targeting people in Dublin or Donegal or Limerick, wherever it might be. So obviously, that's a geo-targeting example. So ad placement. So these are the options that you have. So automatic. So if you're new to Facebook advertising, the simplest choice is to use automatic placement. So Facebook will automatically place your ads across Facebook, Instagram, Messenger, and the audience network, where they are likely to get the best results. Specific. So once you have more experience, you may wish to place your Facebook ads in specific locations. So options will vary based on your chosen campaign objective. So device type. So in other words, you could target mobile only, desktop only, or obviously both. Platform, you can target Facebook, you can target Instagram, you could target the audience network and our Messenger. So in other words, you could target one of those. You could target Instagram exclusively if you wanted to. Placements, so feeds, stories, in-stream for video, search messages, in article and apps and sites external to Facebook. Specific mobile devices and operating systems. So for instance, maybe you have an app, but it's only an Apple app and it's not available on Android. Well, then obviously you would want to target, only Apple. There wouldn't be much point targeting people who are on an Android device, as a for instance. So again, as I say, you can get into very detail there, but again, generally when you're starting off, what I would suggest is that you let Facebook manage that for you. So creating the ads themselves then, so you can see here in terms of creating the ads, and when it comes to Facebook, your content that you use in conjunction with your ads is going to be very, very important here. So you can see carousel, single image, single video, or indeed slideshow. So choose your ad format, add the text and media components for your ad. You can be creative here. So if you're working with an image, try clicking turn into a video, or create a short animation, or click create slideshow to build a slideshow ad with a built-in video creation kit. Preview, use the preview tool at the right of the page to make sure your ad looks good for all potential placements. So again, I say, absolutely check it on mobile, because again, the default setting on there is it will show what it looks to you on a traditional device, but at least check what it looks like on mobile. So when you're happy with your choices, click the green publish button to launch your ad. So again, in terms of some of the ad specs, and there's more, but I've just given you some of the kind of basic ones here. So in terms of image ads, video ads, and carousel ads, I've also included a link there to the other specs in terms of if you're using image-based content, there's a 20% rule in terms of Facebook ads. So in other words, if you're using images, only 20% can be text. If you go beyond the 20%, Facebook won't allow you to run ads. So just be mindful in terms of kind of creating any type of graphical or even photographic type content with respect to that. So Facebook ads cost, and this question that we get asked, so how much does it cost to advertise on Facebook? So the answer is it depends, right? So the main factors that affect Facebook ads costs are timing, so the month, day, or even the hour can affect the ad cost. So again, you're targeting Ireland, for instance, it's cheaper to run ads at 3 a.m. in the morning than it is in 3 p.m. in the afternoon, as a for instance. So bidding strategy, whether you choose the lowest cost or a specific bid cap. Ad placement, so higher competition spots cost more. Ad relevance, so low scores for your ads, engagement ranking, quality ranking, or conversion ranking can raise effort. So again, that comes down to the content and how much thought you've put into the ad. So if you design or create a really, really bad ad that served to a particular audience and it's not really been successful, that's going to have an impact in terms of the cost. Because as I say, what Facebook wants you to do is wants you to create ads that are relevant to the audience that you're targeting. So target audience, so higher competition audiences cost more. So in other words, if other advertisers are targeting audiences with those interests, are they're very competitive in terms of other advertisers, well, obviously that's going to have an impact in terms of cost. But this is a relatively recent example that I ran for a client that we work with. So the target here was mums of young children in Ireland, i.e. parents. So parents of kids, I think between the ages of 3 and 12, if I'm not mistaken, or it could be a little bit younger. So we spent on this particular ad, we spent 30 euros. It was a video ad, which is an important consideration here. So we reached, within this audience segment or customer segment, we reached 3,300 potential mums of young children. And the video had, out of that potential, 2,486 views. So you can do the maths there. You can see in terms of, so it was just a little bit over a cent per view, which in digital marketing terms is very, very cost effective. Now, what I would say, why did that ad work to that level? Primarily down to the actual video. So the video itself, the digital content itself, appealed well to that particular audience, right? So that's the kind of fundamental there. Facebook Pixel and custom audiences, which I've mentioned. So you can use custom audience to reach more targeted audience. Upload your email address, for instance, and target those people with Facebook ads, or retarget the people who have been to your website. So in other words, these are some of the things that you can target here. So for instance, some people who have visited your website. Now, again, for this to be effective or for this to make sense, obviously you need a reasonable volume of people visiting your website. If there's very, very few people visiting your website in the first instance, well, obviously this is not going to necessarily make a lot of sense. It's not really going to work. But, say you're an e-commerce provider, you have an e-commerce store, you have a very decent level of traffic to your website, well, then it can make a lot of sense, for instance, to target those people on Facebook with maybe, a remarketing ad, whatever the case may be. You can also target people who've viewed content or interacted with you on Facebook. So for instance, in the last 12 months or so, you've released 4 or 5 videos in relation to a particular product or a service, and a good few people have viewed those videos. Well, what you can do then is you could target those same people with a discount for that particular product or some type of incentive as a for instance. So the Facebook Pixel is a small piece of code that can have a big impact on your Facebook ad campaigns. So once you place the code on your website, it allows you to track conversions, remarket to people who have viewed a product on your site, or create what are called lookalike audiences. So in other words, a lookalike audience would be, you would say, I want to target people who look alike or are similar to the people who have visited my website already. And again, Facebook will use, if you like, the profile that it has in relation to its user base to start to serve your ad to people who are similar, who have a similar profile to the people who've already visited your website. Custom audiences allow you some of the best targeting available. They are highly defined groups of people who already have a relationship with your business. And again, if we go back in terms of the online marketing funnel, let's just, remember that it's all about relationships. So obviously, if someone is aware of your business, it becomes easier to get them to convert into becoming your customer or get them to consider becoming your customer. Whereas if someone has no awareness of your business already, they've never heard about you before, it's very, very difficult, or it's much more difficult to get them to become your customer. So such as past customers, people who have visited your website, or people who have installed your app, etc., etc. Lookalike, which we mentioned, create lookalike audiences, new potential fans, followers, and customers that share key characteristics with your existing customers and fans. Now, as I say, if it's fans, if it's the people that like your page, for a lookalike audience to be effective, well, obviously you need to make sure that the fans, the people who already like your page, are either your customers or indeed, tick the boxes in terms of having the potential to become your customers. So remarketing, so your typical website, certainly your typical website when it starts off, will convert at somewhere between, usually will convert at somewhere between 2 to 5%. So what we mean by that is that for every 100 people that visit the website, what we'd like to see at the start is somewhere between 2 and 5 of those people will convert, i.e. buy a product, i.e. send an inquiry. Right. If we see a lower rate than that, that generally tends to indicate in the first instance a non-performing website. But what that also means is that, somewhere between 97 and 95, of every 100 people that visit the website will leave the website, never to return to that website again. Right. So this is kind of where remarketing comes in. And again, you can see why this could be, certainly when it comes to social advertising, because people aren't necessarily on Facebook or Instagram to, as I say, to find out information about a product, this can be very, very effective in terms of those channels. So types of custom audiences from customer lists. So customer lists offer a way for you to let Facebook know about existing relationships you have with customers that cannot be mapped through Facebook engagement to the Facebook pixels. So this would be, for instance, something like, your newsletter. Now, again, obviously you need to be aware in terms of GDPR there. So you can see there's a whole range of ways they can create custom audiences there. Okay. So you can see custom audience. This is in terms of video. So what we're doing is we're targeting people on Facebook who have already watched our Facebook video. Okay. So advertising tips in terms of Facebook. So split test your ads, be super targeted, or be as targeted as you possibly can with your ads. Where possible, add calls to action buttons to your ad. And again, no more so than with Google, you will measure and tweak in real time. So Instagram ads, briefly before we finish up. So again, when we're talking about Instagram, as I say, same rules apply here. So it's best to run your Instagram ads from Facebook's ads manager. So Instagram ads can be placed in one of 3 formats. So image, video, or carousel, and users swipe to see additional images or story ads. So just like Facebook ads, Instagram ads will be clearly labeled as sponsored in the stream, and all ads will have a call to action button below the image and video. I suppose the main point there is, even if you're just focused, so say that your customer segments are kind of 30 people aged 35 and less, Instagram will be a better channel nowadays than Facebook to reach those demographics, and you just want to focus on Instagram. What I'm recommending that you do is you run your Instagram ads from the Facebook Ads Manager platform. Let's go down here. Okay, so you can see the examples there in terms of how Instagram ads, and again, similarly, you can remarket to your Instagram audience. So again, a lot of the same rules apply. I just want to cover off LinkedIn ads before we finish off, because I am conscious that we may have some B2B businesses, and it's not that you can't use both Facebook and Instagram ads in terms of B2B. You certainly can use Google, obviously, but LinkedIn would generally be your more natural starting point in terms of B2B, certainly if you're targeting larger kind of businesses and so on and so forth. So LinkedIn allows you to target over 600 million professionals. And what LinkedIn say about its network, so that 4 out of 5 LinkedIn members drive business decisions, and LinkedIn audience has twice the buying power of the average web audience. So basically what they're saying there is, you know, within organizations, people who have LinkedIn profiles and use LinkedIn profiles, they tend to be, on average, more senior within those organizations, and they tend to be influencers in terms of buying decisions. So obviously, when it comes to LinkedIn, it's all about, you know, a person's professional expertise, their professionalism. So you target based on what people do professionally. So location, the only mandatory targeting field. So for instance, you could target people based in Ireland, you could target people in the UK, or obviously you could target people who have a LinkedIn profile and are based in Donegal. So company then, company connections, company followers, company industry, company name, company size. So, you know, you might want to target a certain size of company. You might want to target a certain industry segment, you know, depending on who you're. Demographics, age and gender, education, job experience. So more often, certainly when it comes to B2B selling, and certainly, you know, you're going to be targeting a particular job description from within a business. So maybe your decision maker in the organization is the HR manager. Maybe it's the, you know, the marketing managers, or for instance, maybe it's the logistics manager. Again, depending on you know, who you're trying to target. So LinkedIn allows you to target people not just based on their company size, their industry, but also their job description, their job function from within the organization. So there's a whole range of options in terms of what you can do here. And I suppose there's really only one that I want to kind of, because, you know, there's a similarity between these and some of the options that you will have seen in terms of, so sponsored content in terms of your LinkedIn company page, sponsored email. So this is kind of a unique LinkedIn offering. And for all intents and purposes, what you could describe this is like a cold email from within LinkedIn. But obviously, because it's within LinkedIn and people have already signed up, there's no GDPR considerations. And certainly what we've seen is this can work quite well in terms of the clients that we've worked with. Now, again, it's like anything else, you know, all tools can be used well, all tools can be used badly, but you can typically buy in-mails in LinkedIn for about 20 to 30 cents per in-mail. So these are some of the other options there. So just in terms of if you're a B2B business and you haven't used LinkedIn advertising before, I would suggest to you LinkedIn in-mails are a reasonably good place to start. However, and that's why I refrain sometimes from using the term cold in-mail for me, right? What we've seen with clients is, it's what contained, the information that's contained within the in-mail that ultimately is the thing that will dictate the success, or indeed the lack of success from within that. Generally speaking, you can buy emails as an advertising option, or if you're on any of the premium LinkedIn products, you will generally get in-mails as part of that package. So 5 steps to write LinkedIn in-mails that generate results. So 1, research and target. 2, consider your subject line. 3, personalize and start the conversation. 4, find common ground and be concise. So target ruthlessly, so you're only damaging your reputation if you don't. So choose wisely. So in other words, when you target someone with an email, right, make sure that that person is relevant in terms of the information. So very, very simply, before you send, ask yourself, are they the relevant person for you to contact? Are they someone that may be interested in your service or product? If the answer is no, don't send the email. Consider your subject line. So subject lines with 10 lines or more get accepted at a rate 19% below average. So try to limit to 6 words or fewer. Make it short, make it personal, make it relevant. Ask yourself, if you received this in your inbox, would you be motivated to open it? So again, online digital works in terms of shorthand. So people aren't going to read, reams and paragraphs of information. Again, apply that in terms. Personalize. So craft something real and avoid being salesy. Use email as a conversation starter. So sending a bulk message is a major factor in driving down response rate. So again, if you look at email marketing nowadays is all about segmentation. If you're still just sending out a blast email to your entire, you're really not using email marketing in the way that it should be used. Simply sending personalized emails instead of templates can boost your response rate by 15%. So mention the profile content that prompted you to write. Find common ground. So it's always a good idea to find common ground. People who share a group in common with you are 20% more likely to write back, and referencing a former employee in common increases your chances of getting an email response by 27%. And be concise. So 85% of emails are opened on a smartphone, and no one wants to read an essay on their phone. So emails with 200 words get an acceptance rate that 13%, with over 200 words, 13% worse than average. Emails with under 100 words do 13% better on average.